Hello, and welcome to episode We're Unsupervised 86 of the Book Wars Pod. Kate is in Greece, or in the air, I think, probably right now.
She is in the air, very likely somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, depending on her flight's path. I know her layover was in England, so it's possible that she went like super north and she's somewhere over like Nova Scotia right now. So who knows? But
probably still over the ocean, just off the coast.
Coastal ocean.
Yeah.
Newfoundland.
The
I
littoral
hope she's drunk
area.
on free wine.
Yo, she's passed out. She doesn't even stay awake long enough to get drunk on
free
flights.
wine. That's fair.
Literally, we had like
that's
free drink
great.
coupons on like a Southwest flight once. I don't even remember why. Is they fucked something up, and so we had free drink coupons, and like literally, I had to like hold Kate's coupon and order it for her because she was asleep.
Did you use it for yourself?
No, I'm a good.
Oh, good husband.
I was gonna say I want to say fiance at the time. I was a good fiance. I got her airplane gin and tonic.
Did she eventually drink it?
Yes, she did eventually drink it.
That's good. Quinn just likes to say when I'm asleep, I'll just take hers. She'll take one too.
That's what I do with the snacks.
And then he eats it.
That's what I do with the snacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, only if they're good snacks though. Like if they're the cookies that United gives you that are surprisingly good, those I'll take. If it's like pretzels, I'll usually leave those.
Speaking of cookies, are you drinking?
I am drinking because I just got back from a massive dinner at the cheese place. Have you been to Cheese Teak?
No.
Is that a thing before you left?
What the fuck is cheese teak?
Miranda, do you know it?
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, interesting. Maybe it's a Virginia focused thing.
Yeah,
but it's
then
like
I definitely did not care.
it's like a cheese shop / restaurant where like the dishes are all like, you know, they have like really nice cheese. So it's like they have a lot of grilled cheese sandwiches. I got a cheesesteak with some really nice cheese. We got a really nice cheese board, obviously. So the Seedors are in town, and Kate is not, which means I can actually eat cheese because Kate is lactose intolerant. So really living the best life. But this is all to say that I ate an incredibly heavy and rich dinner and then got home and decided I hate myself and poured myself bourbon.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Also,
So
that place sounds terrible.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's all right. If Bria ever listens to this episode, she'll back me up. It's like one of her favorite places.
Where is it?
The original is in Shirlington, but there's now one in Ballston. They're like all over Northern Virginia now.
Okay. No, I never ventured to those parts of Virginia because, you know.
You never ventured southwest to the Potomac?
I mean, I never ventured south of like the Target and Potomac Yard.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's a good Target.
It's a solid Target. I saw Avengers Endgame this weekend at Potomac Yard.
Ooh. We didn't see that because I'm me, and
I was gonna say, do you plan
of course
to?
not. I'm probably not going to anytime in the near future.
I'll probably start reading spoilers in the next few days and like figure out what the movie was about.
Yeah, it was. I actually really, as somebody who doesn't particularly care about Avengers other than like enjoying the movies, I really liked it. I thought it was really well done.
That's awesome. Thank you for that helpful feedback, Chris, because nerd shit, you know.
Yeah. Do you watch Game of Thrones, or do you just eschew every cultural touchstone of our time?
Hell yeah.
Miranda watches Game of Thrones. I'm not caught up, but you know.
Did you watch last night's, Miranda?
I did. So I don't know what day this episode is going to come out, but we are recording the day after Game of Thrones dropped the Battle of Winterfell.
Yes.
And I won't spoil it, but it was super lit. And we stan a legend.
We came away with very different conclusions from that episode. We do stan a legend. We stan a legend. So I did not really tweet about this significantly because I'm not into like yucking other people's yum. but you're listening to a podcast that I'm on, so now you're a captive audience. I'm not going to spoil it. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was like one of the worst hours of television I've watched in recent memory.
Wow.
It was just so badly written and so badly directed and filmed.
There's
I was
some
like-
deeply problematic things about that episode. I will absolutely agree with you.
The fact that you
but-
couldn't see 70% of it comes to mind.
Minor details. You don't need to see things.
It's just
They happen.
It was,
Just trust us.
it was bad. It was bad. If there weren't only 4 episodes left, I would I honestly don't know that I would force myself to continue watching this season because it hasn't been good. All right, that's my soapbox. I'm done.
Chris, what bourbon are you drinking?
I'm drinking my beloved 1-8 Distilling Untitled Number 13.
Yum. Yes, he's had that on the pod before.
I have.
I'm
a
gonna
dessert
really
bourbon.
have to try to rein us in here because Kate's not here, and you guys just go the fuck off.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Actually, official pod business. Since we're talking about when this drops, I don't remember what it's called, Chris. The thing that's
I'm gonna
coming
need
out
more than that,
tomorrow.
Kristen.
The thing that's coming out tomorrow.
Oh, yes. So tomorrow or 2 days ago, as of when this dropped, Dooku Jedi Lost, the new audio drama from, it's a partnership with Del Rey Publishing and Penguin Audio, I want to say, but written by Cabin Scott of upcoming Project Luminous fame. It's an audio drama about Count Dooku and Ventress and how Dooku originally turned to the dark side. It looks fucking lit, unlike the Battle of Winterfell. And you should all buy it on Audible or, free sample it or whatever, but support it because it's a really cool new medium and we're excited about it. And the only way they're going to make more is if people buy it.
Yes, we'll talk more about that probably next time because maybe some of us will have listened to it. Probably not going to talk about it in a Book Wars pod context just yet. We may eventually.
I think we can chat off. We can chat off pod.
We can
But
chat off pod about
I think
it.
our plan is to talk about it as part of the pod.
Yeah. But stay tuned for our initial screaming that we do in the beginning of pods if any of us listen to it between now and the next pod you hear, which is likely because it's us. So
What are you two
And-
drinking?
go ahead, Miranda. What are you drinking?
Okay, I am drinking an Ex Novo Marion Berries.
Love it.
Marion, like the Marion kind, because it is a Gosa style ale with Marionberry and raspberry. Ex Novo is a local brewery here in Portland, obviously. Is this the one that does really good shit? The beer can says "Do good, drink beer."
Oh yeah, they do shit in the community. Yes.
What she said. There's no tasting description. I've had this one before. It's very tasty. It tastes like berries and
Love it.
Gosa style ale.
Love it. Beer for life.
Yes. I am drinking Washington beer that I have not had before. It's called Matchless is the brewery. And this beer is called the Falls DDH Pale Ale, which I just think is like double dry hopped pale ale. We've got Citra, Amarillo, Mosaic hops, malt is Pilsner, and Carafoam. Yeast is their flagship yeast. Descriptors: bright, dry, citrus. And this is out of Tumwater, Washington. So I'm excited to try this. It caught my eye. I love a dry hop. I love a pale. And this beer is called the Falls. So I'm gonna try it.
And it
Nice.
has a picture of a waterfall on the can, which I'm pretty sure is why she bought it.
Fuck
I mean-
off, Miranda.
I mean, why not?
I'm not here to judge that. I just think we should take it into consideration.
Right, slight tangent. Do you guys remember when a DC brewery, I want to say it was 3 Star, but I could be making that up, but they made a beer with like Marion berries in it, and they called it Beer for Life after his honor, Marion Berry. And then he like sued them. It was really funny.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
I do not remember this, but that's the greatest beer name I've ever heard.
It was when we were in college, I want to say, because I don't remember trying said beer before they got sued.
Yeah, that checks out.
But then what brewery would have been when we were in college? Nothing was open. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll have to look it up. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll look it up and tell you as your beer correspondent.
Yeah.
So should we Star Wars?
Let's Star Wars. Ooh, actually no, hang on. I have one note just to help our listeners just picture the scene. So as we said, Kate is not here. I am home alone, without supervision, and what you all know is you guys hear the shit that I get for being in the squeaky chair or not talking into the mic or all this other shit. What you don't know is that Kate has the premium setup for herself, like computer screens facing her. She gets the really comfy chair, like the mic is near her. I am stuck like in a shitty like folding patio chair that's like a foot off the ground, like craning my neck to reach the mic. And so right now I am just living it up, leaning back in this very comfy office chair, enjoying my bourbon and really just living the high life. And I wanted to share that with you, our listeners.
Congrats, Chris.
Thank you.
Also, don't you not have this problem anymore because there is you guys
Yes, now we have two mics. Now we have a sound mixer. But it was a
you still have
problem
the good
until now.
chair.
Exactly.
You
I still have the good chair.
though.
I get to
Fair.
lean back. It's wonderful.
So, also in terms of schedule as to when we're recording this, this past weekend was AwesomeCon. Unfortunately, Kristen and I were not able to attend because it is not close to here. But Chris, do you have any thoughts on how the panels went?
It was great. It was super fun. So this is Kate and I's second year at AwesomeCon, and our second year also hosting a panel discussing basically what we talk about here on the Book Wars pod, but in a more general sense. We were joined this year, as we mentioned before the panel, in the lead up by Bria Livornia, our editor and friend from Tashi Station, and by E.K. Johnston, the author of Ahsoka and Queen Shadow. And we had a really great discussion. Our panel was at kind of a weird time. It was like 8:30 on a Saturday night for some reason, but we actually had a really good turnout. Really engaged crowd, asked a lot of good questions, and it was just a lot of fun. You know, can't say enough about E.K. Johnston, who is, you know, in addition to a phenomenal writer and a tremendous Star Wars nerd, just the nicest person you'll ever meet. And she, you know, was kind enough to do our panel and was great and is just an incredibly nice person. So shout out to her, EK_Johnston on Twitter, and she is a great follow. Kate was on a couple other panels. In addition to ours, she was on the Representation in Star Wars panel, moderated by Bria, as well as a Toxicity in Fandom panel, which was an experience that I will tell you guys about off pod. And then I was also on a panel moderated by Bria about Does the Galaxy Need the Jedi? So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, shouts to AwesomeCon, shouts to Bria for, you know, kind of managing a bunch of the Star Wars programming this year. Shouts to E.K. Johnston, and shouts to our listeners and those of you who came up to say hi. If you're a new listener, welcome to the pod. I'm sorry. There's still time to get out. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I'm glad it went well. It's always nice when you know, the hard work that Kate and Chris put in turns into a fucking panel. That's just amazing. So, and it's awesome when we get to meet you guys and all that fun stuff. So I know I haven't met any of you because I'm a dumb mouth breather and don't go to things, but
That's awesome. Con.
I hate you, Miranda.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I really need to rein the two of you in.
I know. What
So
are we, like
now
20
we're-
minutes in? Have
now
we talked
we're-
about the book yet?
Now we're gonna talk about Star Wars, the books.
Oh, it's funny because we're not talking about the book yet because we have this next topic. So before we get started with Battlefront Twilight Company by Alexander Freed, which we're very excited about, and our lack of talking about it so far is in no way related to our opinions on the book. But we did get a request from Tyler Tits McGee himself, who asked us to talk a little bit about this, you know, go back to a recurring segment that I like to call What the Fuck Did Marvel Do This Time?
Fuck Marvel, TM.
Oh my God, they're the worst. So as our longtime listeners or mid-length listeners know, we do not read Marvel on the podcast because for a few reasons, but mainly because the people in charge of Marvel are very racist, and up to and including their editor-in-chief, C.B. Cebulski. There's plenty on the internet to learn about that, and the senior editor of Star Wars Comics, Mark Panacea, I think is the way you say his name. They're really racist and not good people, and comics gators and all that shit. This week, or last week, I guess, as you listen to this, they came out with a new issue of Vader Dark Visions, which is a miniseries that's running right now, which was just incredibly gross. I don't want to recap it now because it was just really gross. It was violence against women was portrayed. It really mocked fangirls and any female fans who like the concept of female power fantasies. It was just really gross and done in a really mocking way. And it's just a sign that Marvel, once again, does not have any women in the editing process, clearly. This book itself was already controversial because the author, whose name I don't remember right now.
Comic series, not book, but keep going.
Comic series, yeah. The author of this comic series, miniseries, was actually a replacement series after they unceremoniously fired Chuck Wendig for his political opinions, and basically telling racists to go fuck themselves. And this gentleman decided to step in behavior that I'm sure some might describe as scab-like. I don't know what others would describe it as.
Some,
not me. Why would I? Noted labor agitator.
Noted union champion.
noted union thug. But so anyway, this was already a pretty controversial book because he just unceremoniously replaced Chuck. It sounds, and this was just, a completely thoughtless and really grossly done issue toward any female fans of Star Wars. And, there's not a lot else that we can do aside from, continue to not read or promote Marvel's work, which is a shame because some of it's really good. But, we wanted to tell listeners about it because this shit should not stand. And, nothing's going to change while the C.B. Cebulskis and Mark Panaceas of the world are in power at Marvel. And, hopefully that changes at some point. Hopefully the story group and whoever they work with at Lucasfilm takes a little bit closer hand at these things because I'm not really sure what happened there. But yeah, it was just really gross.
Thanks, Chris. I avoided that like the plague on Twitter.
I know. Honestly,
so
I assumed you did, which
appreciate
is why
you.
I took that. Like, I didn't mean to just be monologuing about it, but I also assumed that you just avoided it. As you should have.
I did on purpose because I did not want to deal with the fucking bullshit. Can we actually talk about the book now?
Yeah, let's talk about stuff that we like in Star Wars.
Because this book is lit.
It's so good, right?
It's
Yeah.
so good. So where and when are we? Chris, you have to help me.
I was going to say, am
wrote
I
things
answering
on the
that? Is Miranda
outline.
answering that?
I know.
It literally
kind of.
says in the beginning of the
Where
chapters
and when.
exactly where we are and where and when
does.
we are.
There's lots of mid-rim planets that we have never heard of before, and they all seem kind of shitty and controlled by the Empire, and I will look up their names because I did not have the foresight to write them down.
I would argue that maybe they don't matter so much, the names. Chris, have we seen any of them any at all? Or
I
they
don't
all
think
new?
we have yet for most of them. The one that we do know, which is a fairly prominent planet, is Sullust, which is the planet that the Stormtrooper, the Lady Stormtrooper, serves on. We've only
Yes.
gotten one chapter of her so far, but Sullust is, of course, the home of Nien Nunb, the revered co-pilot of the Millennium Falcon and Resistance fighter in the sequel trilogy. Sullust is where the Rebel fleet massed before the Battle of Endor. and we're going to get a little bit more from Celeste in this book, so stay tuned.
Get lit. The rest of them are literally like no-name mid-rim planets. It seemed real shitty, but
Yeah, there's
they
like-
have names. Miranda's like, they have names. I tried to look them up.
Hydorol Prime is
Yep.
one of them that I remembered and did not have to look up. I did just look one up, and I did forget it. But I think our general story kind of takes place, 3 years after the first Death Star exploded? And
Yes.
of course, there's some flashback chapters to, 13, 15 years after the Clone Wars ended. We can probably get into that a little later, but that's a general overview of the setting so far.
Yeah. And then when we get into who we're talking about, wouldn't you know it, it's a ragtag group of rebels.
Sure is a ragtag group of rebels. Just out of curiosity, before we move on from the timeline, do y'all have a sense of what else happened 3 years after the Death Star exploded?
Is that Hoth?
It is Hoth.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because isn't Empire generally 3 years after
It
New
is.
Hope?
It is. So notice they are not talking about any attack on Hoth, on rebel leadership, so far in this book. Just a hint about when we are in the timeline if we're 3 years after the Death Star, but that has not happened yet. And a hint of what might possibly be coming.
So they're gonna go to Hoth.
Just potentially go to
it's,
Hoth.
It's gonna be fucking cold. Okay, because that actually was my question. Is if it is 3 years, I'm assuming. I mean, now I know the answer because you just kind of suggested it. But what we've seen so far in this book in the first 7 chapters is not happening while Hoth is happening somewhere else in the galaxy at the same standard time.
Yeah, I'll just say it because it's going to become clear in the next chapter. Yes, that is correct. This is before Hoth happens.
That's helpful for me. Thank you. Probably also helpful for Miranda, but really helpful for me because I'm a slow reader. Cool. So we haven't seen any of these people before.
Correct.
I don't, they're not people. We haven't seen any of these beings before. Some of them are people.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Great. Have we seen any of these various species before?
Seen
word
humans.
I still can't say. Yeah, thank you. Fuck off. Are there any other species that we've seen before?
There is. So Gadrin, who's the big lizard-like philosophical fella, is a basilisk. And we've seen basilisks in a couple different places. There was a basilisk couple in A New Dawn who were the owners of the refinery, if you remember. And also, everyone's favorite diner proprietor from Attack of the Clones is a basilisk.
This is extremely helpful information, Chris.
You're
this
so
is why,
welcome.
This is why I write, Chris, are there any things that I know already in this book on every outline? Because the answer is usually, yes, here's a touch point for you.
Yeah, Star Wars is good like that.
And you're great at remembering shit. Basilisks, and this basilisk that we have met, what's his name? Gadrin?
Gadrin.
Keep reading in his garden. It's great. Not my fault. That's how the human brain
No,
works.
yeah, that's straight up not your fault.
But he seems cool. He's the muscle. He's the Zeb Chewie of the gang, it would appear. He fucks people up if needed.
He also has many arms. So
He
has
does.
spare arms to fuck people up with.
Yeah.
So, so far this is I think kind of a really different view of the rebellion, of the Civil War and all of that than we've seen. but it still seems to be really character driven. At least so far. Obviously, there's kind of the guy who's made out to be the main dude. His name, I remember part of.
He has several names so far.
He has several names. He has one real name that is in here. Namir something.
Yep. Hazram Namir.
Hazram Namir. He seems to kind of, like we see elsewhere in Star Wars, be like this, not necessarily like unwilling servant of the rebellion, but he's somebody who like is just leading this ragtag group of people like we've seen before. You know, he's got a bounty hunter on his little squad, because there's always a fucking bounty hunter in Star Wars. He's got Gadrin. Like, he has some 17-year-old who he just kind of picked up out of a battle on a planet that he didn't want to be on.
What's her name? Roach?
Roach.
Yeah.
Love
it.
Little 17-year-old crackhead.
Yep.
Yep.
Come on.
We love spice. Spice, spice, spice.
I probably had a point, and maybe I will get to it eventually, but I just think it's interesting, especially just to look at kind of how this book plays out so far, because again, he is kind of the focal character, and so the flashbacks that we get are to his like earlier life, and one of the things that really struck me when I was reading it was that he always identifies with like the clans on his home planet. Like, he was fighting under an insurgency, like for a warlord, and he really believed in the cause. He left his parents' home to go join this, to get his food, and to fight for, you know, what, I mean, he maybe thought was right, or at least worth fighting for, to kind of get a better life for him. And then after that failed, he went and fought for this other warlord kind of group. But the whole time it seems like he's kind of fighting his own identity, or like who he was before. In one of the flashbacks, he runs into his dad in the alley. That was in this section, right?
That was in
Yes.
this section.
Okay, sorry. But it seems like he doesn't really feel that to the or he doesn't feel the same way about the rebellion, and he's just kind of like doing his job and is like trying to get through the battle and on to the next. And I don't know if that's a symptom of him just being like in wars for so long, or if he just like doesn't know enough about the broader rebellion to kind of care. But I just thought it was interesting.
Agree. And I'm sure Chris is like smirking on the other side of the mic, because I'm sure we get a shitload more of this and some more of his backstory and blah blah blah.
Oh no, I'm not smirking at all. I think, Miranda, you're really hitting the nail on the head, and I find it interesting. So go ahead and continue, Keeks, then I'll talk.
No. Yeah, I didn't have a ton more to add to this. As always, things are non-linear, and my brain, when it's stressed, does not like to organize them. So, you know, but I think the writing's really good. Just to punctuate that a little bit, we did say we really liked this book. I think I think it's just a really good read so far. It's beautiful. It's beautifully written.
Yeah, for sure. It's like written like a war story. It's like written like war literature. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Miranda, I totally agree. Like, I think it's interesting because, like, does Namir even really care about the rebellion? It doesn't really feel like he does at this point.
Yeah, and I assume you've read this before?
I have, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, as somebody who has not read that far ahead, I don't know if that's something that we're going to see change necessarily. You know, I don't know if he gets new information or learns some new stuff, but he seems kind of cynical about a lot of things, you know. when they were, was it on Hydoro Prime where they like went into the governor's mansion?
Yep.
It's like, it kind of seemed like he was like, well, why are we doing this? Like, we don't even know if this is going to succeed. Like, we're going to be, this is a risk. And there's no way to actually know if there are actually hostages in there because we just have like a note that kind of came out and we're just going to blindly go on this.
Not to be confused with hostage.
So true. Very, very, very good point, Kristen. Thank you. But yeah, no, it's interesting. And like for me, the part of that mansion like excursion that was really interesting was when they like passed the busts or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, look, some weird looking dudes.
Yeah, and everybody else knows exactly who everybody is.
Yeah,
He's
it's like
"Oh, that's some
Tarkin,
dude."
Vader, Count Vidian, like it's like Murderer's Row of, you know, foundational figures of the Empire.
Mhm. And even like when people are having verbal conversations about some of those, everybody's freaking the fuck out about Darth Vader, and Namir's just like, why do you care so much?
Yeah, he says new phone who dis every time someone mentions Darth Vader, and it makes everyone so upset, and it makes me laugh a lot.
I know, right? It's like so fascinating to watch like the impact of Vader to somebody who doesn't know his legend versus somebody who does.
Totally. And it's like, it's almost like Vader wants it to be like that. Not that he wants someone to not fear him, but it's like, no, if you really knew the story, you'd know that this is fucked.
Right?
It's like, I'm not afraid.
All right.
Then you'll die braver
oh.
than most, Miranda.
You will be.
You will be. You will be. I thought the fighting in this was very much like reminiscent of the little bit of fighting that we saw in Solo, and that actually made me really happy. But I know this was written before that, right?
It was. Can you say more about that?
Sure. I just think like the, you know, there's a lot of just like shitty trench warfare on shit ass backwater planets, and like nobody really knows what the fuck is going on, and everything's a hot ass mess. Like it really paints the picture that like sets up how a bunch of smugglers could get infiltrated into like the company that Han was in and steal a bunch of shit and do crazy stuff. And you know, there's a Wookiee chained up, and it's just like I really feel like the picture of war that this paints is like, I see that most in Solo, I think, of all the Star Wars properties that I've read or seen.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point too, and it goes a little bit back to your point, Chris, about this kind of reading like war literature. But I do agree it's like Solo in that the aspects of war that it portrays are so contrary to what we've seen just in all of Star Wars to this point. Because when we look at the movies, we're dealing with like the top brass. We're seeing the grand strategy. We're seeing Leia, try to hold the rebellion together. We're seeing Bail and Mon Mothma like try to put the rebellion together. And it's all been very like top down. But this is not that at all. It is gritty. It is war. It's like super shitty. Everybody's dying. They're desperately trying to kind of keep, their company, Twilight Company, fully staffed, or even, staffed enough to be able to fucking complete their missions. And we see that nobody has any idea, like, basically on the ground level of what's going on. There's one instance in this book, and I forget after which battle it was, but Namir gets mad because he's like, why the fuck are we doing this? Like, what's the big picture? Why are we making these sacrifices? Why are we taking these risks?
Mm-hmm.
It was after they blew up the biofactory, right?
Yeah, that sounds...
Yeah, and then they got infected with whatever the bioweapon was.
Then they got sicky sick.
They sure did. But yeah, no, you're so right, Miranda. And it's like, to me, it's really evocative of Vietnam, particularly Coyote, that plan where the bio facility was, because it's like, it's jungle atmosphere. They're on this like mission that they like are being told from on high that it's a good idea, but they don't understand how it fits into the larger plan because nobody's bothered to explain it to them. And they're exposed to bioweapons, and then the pickup doesn't come and they get abandoned. And it's this whole like feeling of hopelessness and being lost that like I feel like is very common in Vietnam War literature, you know, of that era.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, even I think you again hit the nail on the head there. Like, they are feeling very hopeless, which I think is another point to the fact that this is not the upper echelons of the rebellion, where like they can look down at like all of these individual battles and say like, okay, well, this was the outcome, this is the purpose that it served. Rebellions are built on hope. It's like, no, the people fighting this don't have any fucking hope because they're just in a war zone all the goddamn time.
Yeah, and like I'm interested to get both of your opinions on the what's the guy's name, Howell or whatever the fuck they call is he a captain? Yeah.
He is.
He's a, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but he's the captain of the company. He's
Yes.
the rebel army captain, not a naval captain, which are
Correct.
in Star Wars ranks seem to be very
Fluid.
Fast and loose.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, none of it makes any sense, but functionally, like, for an army situation, a captain is like a much lower rank, so he's like just commanding the company. He's not like in charge of the ship they're on or anything.
I don't know. I think I think he is primarily an army captain. However, I do think that Twilight Company has been given the Thunder Strike. So I think effectively he is also captain of the Thunder Strike by nature of being the highest ranking official on the ship. But I agree with you that he seems more like captain in the army than the Navy.
Follow for more military yelling.
Yes. Yes. Follow at Book Wars Pod while we are unsupervised for more military yelling. But so he's the one that's like, you should do like open calls during like when we're on these backwater planets, right?
Yeah.
Which is so funny because apparently that's like against rebel whatever protocol.
When you say open calls, do you mean for recruiting purposes?
Yeah, for recruiting purposes.
Where anybody can join the rebellion? Just has to like pass the eye test.
Yes.
Yeah, or not even, because Namir talks about how he like pegs somebody as an Imperial spy, and yet that person still comes on board because they're like, who the fuck cares? Just watch him.
Yeah, and he also is like, oh, this child seems good. How old are you, child? And she's like, 17.
And he's like, yeah, that's funny. Whatever, come on.
Absolutely not yet 17. Yet addicted to space meth. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Space crack is space whack.
Seek help if you have addiction issues.
But yeah, no, it's interesting to me that you compared it to Solo, Kristen, because I did not immediately draw that conclusion, but actually hearing you explain it, I really like that description now.
Well, and I'm wondering if like the people who wrote those scenes in Solo were like, oh, I read this in a book. Let's make it consistent with this. Or not. I have no idea. But I love how consistent they are from a continuity perspective.
Yeah. And, you know, if you think about it, because, you know, thinking specifically about like what you were talking about on Mimban versus like Coyote or Hydoril Prime, where it is this kind of like trench warfare or like block to block warfare. It is kind of like they are the best two depictors we get of like actual ground combat in a war. Like we don't get that except in, you know, Clone Wars, I guess.
Clone Wars is something.
Yeah, but we don't get it in the rebellion anywhere else because all the stuff we see in the rebellion is naval battles.
Yeah, I mean, and we assume there's a shitload of on the ground happening.
Yeah.
And not just in when they're on Endor.
Yeah, and I mean, like what we do see on the ground, at least like in the films, is Endor, and it's somehow more guerrilla tactics than like we see even here, just because of the scale that's portrayed in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So this, it kind of seems like, you know, there's Namir and Brand and their squad, and then all these other ones, and like, okay, well, they're out there doing their thing, and like they meet up, and again, not to belabor the point, but like the Star Wars that we see, the ground combat, it's like Leia's on a speeder, Han's shooting open a door. Like, it's very limited, and I think this is a really good way of kind of introducing us to what the rest of the rebellion actually was. And it's something that I think in later installments of Star Wars media is like, yeah, like it was really hard, like it sucked. But usually we're like, oh, they were on ships in space just firing at each other and did some cool shit. But it's like, no, it was miserable. Everybody hated it.
Yep, they were fighting inch by inch. You know, both sides were fighting over each little fucking planet for resources and trade routes, and everyone was not eating well and putting deodorant on and all of that stuff.
Yeah. And they really were very similar on each side because, like, you know, you think of in this where like Namir kind of has this attitude. It's like same shit, different shithole, you know, like it's like he has no idea why they're on any of these planets. He has no idea what the strategic significance is. You know, they know that they're basically holding off the Empire from getting to the overextended fleet. And so he's like, this isn't even a strategic battle. We're just like, we're dying so other people don't have to die. And then you look at Han on Mimban in Solo, and, you know, the major is being like, or the captain, whatever, is being like, is talking about, you know, their next mission and getting to their objective. And Han's just like, what's our objective? And the guy's like, to bring peace and prosperity to the galaxy, eliminate the hostiles. And Han's just like, we're the hostiles. So it's just like, there's no communication down to the grunt level where these people are at of what the strategic significance of their role is. And like, you can tell that that's really wearing on them because they're at this low level where like they're doing the majority of the dying and they know nothing why.
And I think that's something that really adds to the hopelessness of the whole situation. Because if you can't understand why you're doing it, what the fuck is the point?
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Is that what we wanted to say so far about trench warfare? It sounds so shitty. They're like, we were wet and cold and tired. And I'm like, this sounds horrible. This is like when people go camping.
Do they have like industrial dryers on the Thunderstrike?
I hope so.
I hope so too. I hope they at least have boot dryers.
Yeah.
Because those are important. But I love it when like Namir's like, I just took off all of my clothes because I just wanted to see if I could dry it all.
Spoiler alert, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're talking about they were talking about something and they were like, if it wasn't so humid, everything would have been on fire. It's like,
Yeah.
sometimes DC be like that.
Yo,
Yeah, and
fucking
then
tell me about it.
It started raining and it didn't stop for 3 months. Like, it sounds miserable. You know, there's, it kind of took me like a couple of reads of these paragraphs to figure out what the fuck was going on. But when they're trying to get off of, is it
Coyote?
Coyote? When the transport doesn't come to get them, they're just like sick from the biohazard they just fucking blew up. They're hallucinating, they're barely conscious and just like hanging out in the woods. And it's like, what is this? Why is this happening?
Is that when they were talking about like trying to pick up any comms chatter from anyone? Or was that before? It doesn't really
I don't
matter.
really remember.
I think the point, well, and I think that's like another way it's reminiscent of war literature. You like how many times have the three of us said, I don't remember if it was in this part or this other part that this specific thing happened. It's all the fucking same.
Same shit, different shithole.
Yeah, that's super fucking real. The only other thing I wanted to say about this is that like obviously we've talked about it, but this is like a very different kind of story because like there aren't like all the other anything else in Star Wars there's heroes, right? Like you've got obviously your big four, you've got Luke, Leia, Han, Lando, you've got your Nora Wexleys and your Wedge Antilles and your people who get the medals, and you've got your Ray Sloanes on the other side, et cetera, et cetera. And there are no heroes in this book. Like, it's only the grunts. Like, there's people who are, like, super courageous and, like, who do not get their due, presumably. But, like, we haven't really seen a Star Wars yet where you have these people who just aren't famous and they're the only ones there.
Yeah, because I feel like, so in the Aftermath trilogy, I think it's kind of, at the beginning at least, we're supposed to look at Nora like, oh, she's a former, like, current rebel pilot. That's what she does. She flies, and, you know, sometimes they get recognition, sometimes they don't. But then it, like, quickly turns into she's getting, like, super covert operations, like, super under-the-table stuff to track down, like, Imperial admirals and all of that shit. This is not that. Like, it could change by the end of this book, and, you know, I'll eat my words or whatever. But they're just, like you said, Chris, they're just grunts. They're here doing their job, and there's no glory in it. There's no real recognition from what we've seen so far. It's just kind of, that's the whole shit.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you guys both said it, I think, already, but it's like they are the people who are dying so that the people in better strategic places aren't dying. And it's just like, God, that's so fucked up and just such a big part of war, no matter time, space, area, far away or near away.
Yep. And this vibe of there are no heroes, there's only the people you don't know is very Rogue One to me. And it's funny because this book was written about a year before Rogue One. It came out right around The Force Awakens. And so at the time, it was like completely different, right? Because like Star Wars doesn't really feel like this. Star Wars doesn't get this real, at least until Rogue One. And so it was like almost like a predecessor, like a intellectual or a creative predecessor to Rogue One in a lot of ways, even though it takes place after, just because you do get that ground level. These are the people, you know, mining the landing platforms, or these are the people, you know, laying down suppressing fire so that Bodhi can get to the master switch, like, or Bodhi can plug in, whatever. I've seen Rogue One. But so it's interesting to me that this is, you know, so that we almost take this for granted because Rogue One was such a huge success. And like, now we see The Mandalorian, which looks like it's going to be really gritty and like down to earth, or so to speak. But this book was really the first time we'd ever seen something like that, I think.
Yeah, you know, this was, Twilight Company walked so that Rogue One could run, right? Like, sorry.
No, I
Like,
completely agree.
And I mean, I just think, like, would my opinion of Rogue One have been different if I had read this first? Maybe, because, you know, like you said, Rogue One was revolutionary, and so far as it's not, you know, as pretty as the Star Wars movies usually are. It's like everything is terrible. We're on these landing platforms and we're all gonna die at the end of this because we were not in the original trilogy. That's kind of how I'm approaching this book right now. It's like, fuck, like everything is really not looking great for anybody. What this means in the big picture otherwise, I don't know. But I think it's really refreshing to read something that's just so different than what we're used to.
Totally agree.
Yeah, totally agree as well. Thank you, Miranda. Yeah, that's interesting. Chris, when did you read it?
Oh, what a good question. It was probably after Rogue One.
Okay.
It was probably
interesting.
between Rogue One and Last Jedi at some point. But was it though? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm full of shit. I honestly don't remember.
Who is to say?
But it definitely felt
yes.
completely unique and like was almost like a little hard for me to get into the first time I read it, just because it was so not what I was expecting from Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, and now we have like it's easier, I think, for me and Miranda to get into this because we have multiple examples of this kind of like warfare, ground warfare, trench warfare, blah blah blah.
Yeah, for sure. And the funny thing is, or not funny, but like it makes sense, is do you know who wrote the Rogue One novelization when the movie came out?
Was it Alexander Freed?
It was Alexander Freed.
Bwah, bwah, bwah.
All right, we'll let Miranda go out on top and end it there. A nice short episode. Look at that, Kristen.
Yeah, I had to take point on doing the outline because I had 20 minutes after work, so you're welcome, listeners.
Way to go, Miranda. This episode brought to you by @RealBabyBird. Thank you for listening to episode 86 of the Book Wars Pod. Next episode, we're going to be continuing on with Battlefront Twilight Company by Alexander Freed, reading chapters 8 through 20. In the meantime, hit us up on Twitter, run this week by none other than It's Keeks. Hashtag I am Snoke.
Hashtag I am Yeah, if you'd like to follow our journey. For Kate's deleted Twitter from her phone, so she's gonna come back and she's gonna be like, what the fuck did you do? I'm gonna have like 2 followers left by the time she gets back. But yeah, hashtag I am Snoke, hashtag unsupervised pod.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Anyway, hit us up.
No rules.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr at BookWarsPod. BookWarsPod@gmail.com if you want to email us. And rate, review, and subscribe to us and the Tashi Station Radio mega feed. Particularly on the iTunes store. It is the best way, other than seeing us in person, for people to discover the show and really just get trapped into listening is the way I see it. But
it's a trap.
Oh my God, you're both the worst and the best. I will also note that we still have a bunch of swag from Star Wars Celebration Chicago that we have yet to give away. So if you want any of that, it can't be a bad idea to rate the pod. All I'm going to say.
Listen, Mom has whims about when she wants to give things away, and if you're not ready, you're not getting shit.
Yeah. Last time we gave something away, the individual who won it had just left us a review like 2 days before, and that's just the way the dice fell.
It's those dice that Han carries around.
Yeah. Are you Han? Do you have special dice? Are you Lando? Do you have a green Psylop up your sleeve? I don't think so. So better fucking review the pod. Anyway, also, if you have the means and are so inclined, please donate to the Tashi Station Radio Patreon and give us coffee at ko-fi.com/bookwarspod. It really does help us cover our hosting and production costs. Our theme song is Whiz Bang by Poddington Bear. Our logo and artwork are by Joe Butera Design. For Kristen and Miranda, I'm Chris. Thank you for listening to our very special Kate-free episode of the Book Wars Pod. If she hasn't murdered us all from Greece, we'll be back next week. Kate was on a couple other panels, one on toxicity and fandom, one on wow.
Something else.
I just completely blanked what Kate's other panel was.
Now you know how I feel all the time
I know, right?
on
Shit.
everything.
Yo, cut this out. I will remember it. Give me a sec. Kate was on a couple different panels as well. One on toxicity in fandom, and then the other one on... Fuck, I really thought I was going to get it.